All right, we are live. Started this a little bit early. James is a little bit wore out. He's been fishing all day, so get this thing going, man. So James, thanks for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and I'm just a little fish in the sea, so I really appreciate you taking some time, spend some time with me. So talk about your day today. What's going on out at Table Rock?
Well, I'm on Grand Lake.
Oh, you're on Grand Lake?
Yeah. I'm getting ready for a Toyota series, so we're just feeling around today, see what bass we're doing.
Okay.
Like the Ozarks Saturday, and fish are starting to get up there and getting ready, thinking about spawning and stuff. So
yeah. Cool. Did you fish the first one in the Plains Division?
Yes.
You did. Right.
I sucked.
Yeah, I pretty much did too, man. I fished as a co-angler.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's part of it though. So let me start out with what's a day in the life of James Watson like? I mean, your typical day.
Just rugged. Here lately. Tired. Yeah, just ready to get on with the season and stuff. So I do a lot of time in my garage. Spent a lot of time in my garage this year, getting ready for this year, and packing the truck, getting the boat. I got a new Charger this year, back in the old 210 Elite boat, and made a few changes this year. No longer affiliated with Bass Pro or White River Marine Group, and so that's probably been the major change this year for me.
Yeah, I got to fish out of a Charger actually in the Toyota series. I drew a guy the second day. His name was Nicky Parsons from Bull Shows.
Yep.
And he had I'm pretty sure it was a 210. It's a good riding boat, man. I liked it. It's the first time I'd ever been in one.
Yeah, it's the old champion holes, what that is. So.
That's what he said when he went to purchase a boat. He was looking for something that could handle some big water, and that boat's notorious for handling big water.
Yes, it is.
So we already talked about Toyota series. Let's talk a little bit about Sam Rayburn down there. Did you what'd you stumble across? Did you have a pattern down there?
Well, at first day of practice, I got on a pretty good shallow bite. Saw the weather condition was going to be similar to the first day of the tournament. Got on a pretty good buzzbait bite on my Tackle HD Worldwide buzzer, and had 12 or 13 bites on it in practice, and most of them looked like they were scoreable fish. And first day of the tournament, started out with about my 10th cast, caught a scoreable 2.5 pounder, and really thought it was going to be smashing it. And about 30 minutes later, I had one boil behind it, and I followed up with a weightless worm and had him on. He ended up running me in the bush and breaking me off. And then the second day, I caught a 515 on it. Just never did get a whole bunch of bites on it like I did the first day of practice. There was some few bass on beds there. I was counting on them. I managed to catch the few I saw that were on beds and score them. I could only catch them once too. Last year at Lake Fork, I caught bed and bass multiple times. You catch them, they'd go right back up there. A few minutes later, you can catch them again. That wasn't the case at Rayburn, but it was a pretty tough bite. Wasn't a whole lot of fish up, and the pressure was unbelievable at Rayburn. Like, there must have been 1,500 boats on the Rayburn Saturday and Sunday. It was unbelievably busy.
So you think that was just local pressure, or were there some other big tournaments going on?
Big tournaments. They got playing big tournaments. There was a high school tournament that had 500 boats. It was like,
holy crap! Yeah,
a fish in a 500 boat tournament. Not me.
No, that's way too much. That makes a lake fish super, super small. Did the conditions change, you think, from your first day to the second day, or is it just the pressure, you think?
No, just when you suck, you suck. All this or that. Nothing really changed, including my attack. The way I attack the water. till about the last 30 minutes, and I was in 31st or 32nd place with 30 minutes to go, and I'm in an area that I caught some actually chatterbaiting, and went through this area, had an hour to go, and 30 minutes came and went. I got 30 minutes now to go. Hadn't got a bite on a chatterbait. I picked up a speed worm, started reeling around the grass, had 3 bites in the last 25 minutes or so, caught 2 of them. That was like 6 pounds. And I went from a 10 pounds out of making the cut to little less than 4 pounds out of the cut. So I made a really good move, moved up like 9 places in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah. So you were right there, man. I mean, it's, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that so? Talk about qualifying for the championship round. How does that work? I mean, it's kind of, to me, it's a slightly confusing. You know, you got the 2 groups, and then you got the rounds, and then you got the knockout rounds, and then certain.
Okay, I'll break it down and make it easy. There's 80 of us on the Bass Pro Tour. Your Group A is 40 guys, and Group B is 40 guys. You fish 2 days. Group A, let's just say we're going to Monday. Group A, you fish Monday and Wednesday. Group B, you fish Tuesday and Thursday. At the end of your second day in your round, you need to be in the top 20 to advance to the knockout round.
Okay.
All right. So top 20 from Group A, fish against top 20 of Group B. And after that, end of that day, top 10 go to championship. Boom.
Gotcha. There you go. Couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
And then what's the deal with that heavy hitters? How's that work?
You get to count your biggest fish from every tournament. Whether you catch it on day 1, day 2, championship day, doesn't matter. The biggest fish counts towards your heavy hitters qualification. So last year I screwed up at Kissimmee. I never caught a 4-pounder. I fell out of heavy hitters. This year I caught a 515, so I'm in decent position to stay in range. You need to catch a 5-pounder at every tournament, basically, to make last year. I think it's
so. Is it an average?
Your best fish from all 7 tournaments. I don't know if they're going to do your best 5 or your best 7. I don't know, but just count on. You need to have a big fish every tournament to be in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Stephanie says the first thing she wanted to say was thank you for your military service. It's greatly appreciated.
You bet. My pleasure.
How long were you in the military?
Almost 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. It was fun. So
Rick Lamar's in here. He says what's going on. He's a guy kind of hooked us up.
Yeah. Rick got the joy of fishing with me when I told him about 11:30 that morning he's going to have to drive my boat back because I'm going to jump out of this son of a bitch and drown myself. I didn't have any bites until about 11:50.
So what were you on that? Did you pre-fish for that, or did you just jump in the tournament?
I just went up the river pretty much blind. I went up there one day, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday before the tournament, and had a few bites, but I didn't go real super high. I was concerned about the rain. We were supposed to get a bunch of rain, which would have blown everything out up the river. I woke up Saturday morning still really concerned about how much it rained, and the driveway was dry. So I made my mind up. I wasn't going to go down the lake and throw a jerk bait in Alabama rig. I was going to go blind up the river and, try to do real well. And it worked out. So.
Yeah. When you say up the river, you mean the Osage, the Glaze, the Grabboy, or?
Osage.
Osage. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. The main river itself. So.
Yeah. I played Netman too, man. I played Netman just like Rick did. I drew Roger Fitzpatrick, and
yeah, he had 17 pounds.
Yeah, he had a good tournament. He had a good tournament.
Saturday too. Him and Beer Horse finished third in Anglers in Action with like 23, close to 23 pounds. They had 14.
Did you see that 928 weighed in?
Yeah, I heard that got
Jeez.
3 bass.
Yeah, I mean that sucks. You get the chance to have a freaking mega bag, and you can't get anything to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Have you heard of a 928 caught out of there before?
Oh, I've seen some 10s caught out of Lake of the Ozarks.
Okay.
Out of 10 just a couple of years ago out of there. But tournament wise, no, I don't think I've seen a 9 weighed in a tournament in a long time.
Yeah, that's Big Al was saying that's the biggest one he's seen come across the stage.
Yeah.
Stephanie wants to know, is it harder fishing the river versus the lake that the river feeds into?
No, it's the same. So,
Okay.
People sometimes when you say river, people associate river with wild currents and things like that. That's not the case unless you go way up underneath below the dam. So yeah.
So have you had a chance to go out on Table Rock recently? No idea.
Haven't been there since last week of February, I think.
Jeez. Okay, you've been on the road then.
Yeah, I got 2 BFLs coming up there next week, I guess, 17th and 18th. So, but got to focus here at Grand Lake for this one and hopefully do well here. So, I like Grand Lake this time of year. It's been good to me. So,
yeah, I've never fished Grand Lake. I just haven't made it down there. Is it is it got a lot of docks, or it's mostly rock, right?
It's got a lot of docks and a lot of color. It's mud all the way to the dam right now. A lot of flat water to it. A lot of docks. It gets flooded a lot. It's not flooded now. It's not even in the willows right now. So, but it's a pretty awesome lake.
Yeah, you been able to use your live scope or anything?
No, I'm fishing pretty damn shallow. So, live scope. I'll point it out. What's cool is you might be able to see it over my shoulder here. Right there. I got a turret on my live scope, so I can actually, I don't know if that shows it or not.
Yeah, we can see it.
That right there is a cool deal. That allows me to point my live scope wherever I want. And, while still running my trolling motor. So I'll keep that pointed out in case I come across a brush pile or something like that. So kicked out from the bank.
Now, can you control that with your foot, or is that like a handheld deal? Or
control with my foot. It's got a foot fob thing right there. So can't see my camera very good. Sorry.
Yeah, I can kind of tell what it is. I've seen a little bit about that.
Yeah. That dang freaking bumblebees flying around here all over the place.
I hope they're not wood bees. They might try to dig in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, I got a couple more questions for you. I know you're tired, but I appreciate you hanging in there. I was always curious about that Uranus Fudge Factory. How did you ever get involved with that? It's kind of a random thing.
It is kind of random. Funny you ask. Louis King, the mayor Louis, he's the founder of Uranus, and I met him in 1997. I got stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in 1997, and that was the same year that Louis started what's called Big Louie's. It's a strip club right outside the Greats Fort Leonard Wood, and him and I were pretty good buddies. He grew up in Cassville, Missouri, which is real close to Table Rock Lake. But I knew Louis from when he had a strip club, and he dissolved that a few years ago. He had this great location at the 163 mile marker and off I-44, and he built this whole compound. It was an old kind of strip mall thing, and he built it into Uranus Fudge Factory and candy store and all sorts of trinkets and pretty cool stuff. He makes his own fudge there. I mean, it's really neat. He's really made a hell of a business out of that place. It's really cool. So if you're in there and you're on I-44, you need to stop in and take a break, go in his store and check it out. And, you know, his fudge is great. My favorite is the number 2. He'll even let you, if you want, if you got time, you can become a certified fudge packer.
Right really?
There. Yeah. And
honorary?
Yeah, certified. Not just honorary, but certified fudge packer.
So you get a certificate and everything?
You bet. I mean, it's pretty important. So you might want to check it out.
So is there some kind of tryout for that, or?
No, you go in there, and if there's a opening that day, you can get in there, pack some fudge, and if you meet all the requirements, you could be certified fudge packer. So you need to check it out. Anybody watching this needs to go check it out too. Take a day.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a badge of honor, a fudge packer.
It is. And everybody knows the best fudge comes from Uranus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to stop by there. I've seen it. I'll be down there fishing the BFL in Table Rock as well. So maybe on the way down, I'll stop in there.
Yeah. Go down. Go make sure it's open.
Tell him James sent you.
Yeah.
Rick wants to know, what's the coupon code again for the turret? Do you have a coupon code, or?
I don't on the turret, but I do on that. I got the Beat Down Outdoors mount. The turret, if you'll go to RM Industry, no, what is it? Yike. It is www.rmind.com. RM stands for RM Industries. RMIND.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That you can tell them I sent you. But the graph mount I got that's pretty cool from Beat Down Outdoors. It's a neat deal. That thing comes up to if I want to telescope it up, it'll come as high as my hip.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. One of those extending ones. I haven't seen one of those.
Yeah, it's cool. You guys can go to my Instagram and scroll around on my Instagram and see some of them videos.
So, yeah, I know a lot of the crappie guys are using those.
Yeah.
Closer.
Yeah.
Brush pile fishermen. Rick Lovell says, tell James I caught a double on his worldwide spoon flipping docks on Norfolk in Arkansas. The stinger hook is the deal.
It is. It's crazy. If you get into some unmolested fish, you'll be glad you had that stinger hook on there, because they'll fight over that thing and you'll hook up doubles.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that spoon. When do you start looking for that kind of bite?
The river to sea worldwide spoon bite really becomes affected after spawn. Post spawn into midsummer is usually the best. So you're looking for the deepest, clearest docks that you can find and flip it in there. If you got a live scope nowadays, you can pretty much just watch it fall and watch them come out and go after it. It's crazy. So I think Tackle Warehouse is having a big sale on those worldwide spoons. So
there you go, guys. Go out there and check them out.
Yeah.
So what's your setup on that?
I use a Cashin spoon jacking rod. It's a JW 90676 or 92676. It's my spoon jacking rod. It's just a flipping stick basically, and I use my Quantum Smoke. What is that reel? Anyway, I use a fast Quantum 7-3-1 Quantum Smoke reel with 20-pound Maxima fluorocarbon.
Okay.
Setup.
So you're live scoping in there before you even cast. You want to see fish in there, right?
I'm live scoping, but I'll make casts without seeing stuff too. You'll be surprised how far them things in clear water will run out and eat it. So, Yeah. Well, bud, I tell you what, my ride to dinner is hollering at me over there.
Okay. Well, appreciate you spending some time with us, and good luck at Grand, and maybe I'll bump into you at Table Rock.
Yeah. Make sure you holler at me.
I will, dude.
You very well right now, so I wouldn't recognize you.
All right. I'll bump into you.
All right.
All right, man.
Make sure everybody goes to Real James Watson on Instagram and James Watson Professional Angler on Facebook. And I don't even know what my YouTube is. So
we can find you.
All right.
All right, man. See you, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. It's like the world's shortest stream. I talked to James right before he got on, which is why we actually got on the stream early. And he was wore out. He's been out there on the water all day fighting the wind and the sun. And he was just, I'm glad he came on just for a little bit. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be like a really long one by any means. I didn't know it was going to be that short, but we got 20 minutes with him, so we'll take what we can get. I apologize for that. I know you guys are wanting I had a bunch of questions written down I was wanting to ask him, but guy wants to go. He's got to go. He's got stuff to do. Gosh, I wish I could have, asked him all these questions. Like I said, I do apologize. He was just wore out. So you guys want to talk about anything else? Shoot me some questions and we can chat for a little bit. I am, like James mentioned, he was going to be going down to the Table Rock BFL, and I'll be heading down there too next week. It's going to be a Saturday and a Sunday. They kind of stacked them together because the Table Rock that was supposed to be in February got canceled due to the lake being frozen. So they put that one on Sunday on the backside of the Saturday one. So that's kind of cool actually, because I'll just make one trip down there. I'll spend, my fuel expense is going to be cut in half. My lodging will be cut in half, and food, all that stuff. So that's kind of nice. Let me check these questions here real quick. See if there's anything on here. Yeah, that river to sea spoon is what he's throwing in. I was going to get into some detail with him about that. Let's see. Whitewell says, what questions are you going to ask, Gabe? Maybe someone in the chat has some perspective. Well, I kind of just went through, touch base on a lot of the questions really, really fast. I wanted to get like some boat stories, some strangest things you've caught, that kind of stuff, superstitions. I always like when we have a guest on here, I always like to hear, these guys are out on the water all the time. They fish, 200 plus days a year. They've been doing it for 15, 20 years. So I always like to hear like their fishing stories. That's one of my favorite things to hear. Fishing stories, any superstitions, anything like that. Phil says the vibrating jig was hot today. Where were you fishing at, Phil? Stephanie says, what tournaments are you at? What tournaments do you participate in, Gabe? Well, this year I've been fishing the BFLs as a co-angler in the Ozark division. And I fished the Toyota series, which is a 2-day tournament at Lake of the Ozarks in the Plains division. And I had planned on fishing the one that James is at right now if I would have got a check, but I didn't get a check. Had opportunity probably to get a check, but I've been having problems getting fish in the boat. I don't know what the deal is. I've had a few bites that would have, put me in the check line, and I've saw some of those fish that would have put me in the check line. And I got to quit doing that. I got to turn it around. It happens sometimes. I'm going through this little like middle of the pack where I'm finishing kind of in the middle of the pack, and which is okay. It's good that you're at least right there, one fish away from getting a check. I've gotten one check, but I fished 3 tournaments. So, the goal is to get a check every time, at least cover your expenses. And what's frustrating is to have the fish hooked up and break them off, or they come off right at the boat, or get some bites and you just don't connect with them, which, that's going to happen because a lot of these spring tournaments, we've had some tough tournaments. Those Lake of the Ozarks tournaments, that Toyota series, the water was like 34 to 36 degrees. And the fish were real lethargic, and a lot of the fish just were they just didn't want, I was fishing a jig. They just didn't quite want that jig yet. But as the tournament wore on, the bite started getting better, but I wasn't in day 3, so I didn't get to experience that. Zach says he was flipping a 4.5-inch tube yesterday at Perryville. Only had 3 hours to fish, and they were choking the tube for the 3 hours I was there. Fun day. That's cool, man. That's something. I fish that stupid tube a lot. Zach, if you haven't tried that, check it out. It's just it's a jig head on a Kell style hook, and you it's basically like it's Texas rig, but the head is on the inside of the tube. So it's really weedless, and you can rig it to where it spirals. It's just a different look for the fish, but I've had a lot of luck with that the last several years. Charmer is the tube that I use the most. It's a 4-inch flipping tube. Deb's Dynamite is one of my favorite colors, or just a green pumpkin, just kind of touch the tentacles and a little bit of chartreuse. But that's a really good bait. I like to put that on like 15-pound test with about I think like a 7-foot medium heavy rod. I got a smoke rod that I use for that, 7-foot medium heavy rod, 7-1 gear ratio. Great fish catcher. Basically this time of year all the way through the fall. It's just something a little bit different. It's got a little bit different fall than the Texas rig, but I really like that a lot. I learned that first time I saw that stupid tube was, where was that at? Charles Hardin used to own Charmer tubes, and he fished the BFLs down the LBL division at Kentucky Lake. And I kind of started running into him because it seems like we would always be staying in the same hotel. So I'd bump into him, and he's talking about this stupid tube, and he showed me some of them. Well, he was making the heads, so I bought some from him, and I got some Charmer's tubes from him. And I hadn't fished them until we went down to the regional on Neely Henry, and I was pre-fishing with RB Trayball, big fish RBT is what we call him. And the last part of the day, probably like the last hour of the day, I tied one of those tubes on. Never fished it. Started throwing it around, and it was really, really slow. We weren't getting bites, and I had like 3 or 4 bites on that tube. So I was like, well, I don't really have anything else going, so I'm just going to tie it on. And it was a 2-day tournament, and I'm just going to fish it the first day and see what happens. Well, I ended up catching 4 pretty nice keepers on the first day, all on that tube. So first time I really fished it was the first day of the regional down there. And then the second day had the same deal. I caught, 4 keepers. I think I finished like 35th or something in the regional. There was like 180 people in there. You had to get a top. It was a top 10. No, it was a top 12, I think. Maybe it was a top 10. I don't know. Top 10, top 12, something like that. Went to fish the third day. But, after that, I got a lot of confidence in that tube. And I've had some really good finishes on Barkley and Kentucky. That's a really good thing to fish around those rocky lakes. It just looks like a little crawfish down there scooting around, or a bluegill. It's just kind of multi-purpose, and it comes through cover really good. It's got with a tube, Zach, you probably already know this, but tubes are notorious for missing bites because there's so much plastic in there and it wants to ball up on you. So they make a bigger extra, like an EW extra wide gap, like an extra wide gap, like a big mouth tube hook or something. I think Owner makes one. It's got a really big gap in it for those tubes, but I'll also take the point and bend it up just slightly to encourage it to stick on the roof of the fish's mouth. And that helps a lot. You can also rig it through the side instead of going right up through the center of the tube. If you just kind of clip the side of it so there's not so much plastic in there, and it'll come out the side. You get a better hookup like that. Another thing you can do is not run the tube all the way up to the eye of the hook. That encourages that tube to not ball up a little bit. There's little tricks, but a tube is, I used to use the Shaw Grixby HP hooks back in the day, which are decent hooks, but there's better hooks nowadays. But tubes are awesome, man. I end up missing a lot of fish on them. Just kind of went on a little tube rant here. Phil said he caught his fish on shallow wood. Phil said wood. Wade wants to know, when does the 99 Club start up? And how do I join? Guys, if you're just getting on here, we had Worldwide on here for a little bit, for about 20 minutes, and he had to bail. He was wore out from fishing, and he just wanted to be off there. I could tell when he got on there, he wasn't into it. He was just really tired. So I apologize for that. Maybe he will come on at another date. I could probably reach out to him later on. It might be maybe look at their schedule look at his schedule a little bit better and make sure he doesn't have any tournaments coming up. But you know how it is. You guys are out there fishing. You know how it is when you come off the lake after pre-fishing for a tournament or just fishing, you're wore out. A lot of people don't realize that people that don't fish don't realize that when you're actually out there fishing, it's a lot of work. You're out in the elements. Your body is you're demanding a lot out of your body, and you're fighting the wind and the sun and, bouncing around, all that stuff. You're tired. You're wore out. There's a lot of times when I come back from fishing and I get out of the shower, I'm just standing there, and I don't know if you guys do this or not, but you just kind of like rocking. You just feel, especially if you've been out on the lake and there's been a lot of current, a lot of waves, there's been a lot of traffic and the boat's just kind of rocking, but you're standing there, you're on flat ground, and you just feel like you're doing this. It's weird, man. It happens all the time. So Wade wants to know, when does the 99 Club start out and how do I join? Thanks, Wade. I can give you the club president's number, Jay Storts, and they fished their first tournament in March. I think let's see, I'm trying to think of how that works. I'm not fishing it this year because I've got some BFLs and the Toyotas and stuff, and I'll be fishing some USA bass and stuff. So I just had to keep the peace. I didn't want to get too involved. I had to kind of give up one thing to get another thing. But they fish I think the meeting is the first Monday of the month, and then they fish that following Sunday. So there's one tournament a month. It's always on a Sunday, and they meet up at the Cape Girardeau County Conservation Center, which is in Cape County Park, in between Cape and Jackson, Missouri. And it's a great club. It's a lot of the guys have been in the club forever. We don't have any drama. It's not like some of the bass clubs you hear of where people are fighting and bickering and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty laid back. Everybody's really good friends. It's competitive, but it's not cutthroat competitive. People will usually tell you what they caught their fish on at the end of the day, and they'll help you launch your boat. And, it's a boater and non-boater format, and it's a draw. The boaters will we just have ping pong balls. We put in a bag. Numbers, say there's 6 boaters, it's 1 through 6. So they'll put those in the bag, and they'll go around. All the boaters will, grab out a ping pong ball and then write down the number associated with the angler, put all the balls back in the bag, and then they go around to the co-anglers and you draw a ball. So boater 2 links up with co-angler 2 or non-boater 2, and you guys figure out where you want to meet at in the morning, drive to the lake. But most of the lakes we fish are within an hour to 15 minutes from Cape Girardeau area. We fish Cedar, Little Grassy, Egypt sometimes, Kincaid. On Kincaid, we put in at the Johnson Creek area in the no wake, that 3 mile no wake. And we used to be limited to just that no wake area, that 3 mile no wake. But the last couple of years, they've opened up the whole lake. So if you want to idle all the way through there and then run all the way down to the other ramp, you're welcome to. But in a 9-9, it takes a while. So you got to make that decision at game time. Trying to think of some of the other lakes. Devil's Kitchen sometimes on the schedule. And we fished like Mermet in the past, but that hasn't been up in a while. And then in Missouri, we're fishing Duck Creek, which is down near Puxico, Missouri. If you haven't been to Duck Creek, that's a pretty cool lake. It's different than most lakes. I want to say it's like 1,800 acres, and it's kind of a rectangular shape. You can drive all the way around the lake, and there's a channel that goes around the lake. But inside that channel, basically the whole middle of the lake is just full of dollar pads and full-size pads. You got grass, coontail and milfoil, and then you've got cypress trees just scattered out. So it looks like Florida or something. And this time of the year, it's you can still get around pretty good. The pads haven't really filled in too much. I haven't been down there, but usually you can still get around pretty good. You got a lot of pad stems. That's something that the fish will spawn on. They'll spawn on those pad stems, any kind of wood cover, obviously. But as it gets into the summer, that those lily pads and the grass start getting thick. So that whole center area is just like one huge grass mat with lily pads mixed in. And they'll usually cut a boat ramp or a boat lane through there, so you can kind of get out into the middle. But the cypress trees, a lot of times they're on those cypress trees, any kind of scattered wood. And what I've done in the past is when it's been low, like during duck season, they'll pull it down. It's closed from, I want to say, the second week in October through, I don't know, like 1st of February. You duck hunters would know the seasons, but there's a time when it's closed, and they typically will pull it down a little bit, and they'll expose some of those old cypress knees and stuff, and the cypress trees that are broken off, they'll leave stumps there. And I've went around in the winter and actually put waypoints on some of those stumps, because once the water comes up a little bit and it fills up with lily pads, you can't see those stumps anymore, but there's fish still using those stumps. So you can put those waypoints on there when you go back and everything looks like it's just one solid grass mat. There's little key spots within those grass mats where you can catch you some fish. But Wade, yeah, get a hold of me if you want. I can give you Jay's number, and definitely, I think they're looking for non-boaters right now. I can't remember. I talked to Jay, or Jay texted me a couple of weeks ago, but it's a fun club. It's, I believe it's $25 an annual membership, and then $25 a tournament. So it's very affordable, and it's fun. It's a good way to get out there and have some friendly competition. Let's see here. Let me see if we got any more questions. See something about Morris and Sons. Let me get back up here. Be patient with me. Okay, Whitewell Fishing says Morris and Sons Custom Baits, the White River in Indiana. Okay, he was talking to Morris and Sons. Yeah, if you guys are looking for some soft plastics, go check out Morris and Sons Custom Baits. He's tying flies too. Good dude, man. Really good dude. Yeah, David, I hear you. David says, make sure your gear is not letting you down. Small details, rod, reel, line. It all starts there. Yeah, and I got a weird hook set too, man. I'll just be honest with you. It's kind of like a halfway, I don't know. I fish a swim jig a lot. And a swim jig, I'm usually got my rod tip down, and it's more of a sweep set. So I have to be mindful when I'm pitching for some reason. I still have kind of a halfway to the side set, and it usually doesn't hurt anything. So, but when I'm missing some fish, I'm wondering, is that a problem? And I try to be mindful and set more vertical, but I've kind of got this, I don't know what you would call it. I've had I fly fish a lot too. And with fly fishing, if you set and you miss, that fly will come right at you and hit you right in the head. So I've gotten this habit of kind of setting to the side. Therefore, that fly kind of goes to the side of you. And somehow it's transferred over into bass fishing. And I'm thinking I need to be working on that again. I was working on that a lot last year, and I kind of let it slide a little bit. So I don't know if that hook set angle has got something to do with it. I mean, I could have bumped up to 20-pound line, but I was throwing 15-pound line with the finesse jig. The rod I think it's fine. It's a loose 7'3" football jig rod. It's not typically what I would use. I'm referring to the BFL, where I lost a couple good fish when I was fishing with Roger Fitzpatrick. It's not my typical flipping rod, but I've still had pretty good success with it flipping. It's a football jig rod, so it's got a little bit softer tip. I don't know, man. I just think sometimes it just happens, Sometimes it's just kind of the way it's going to be that day. But I did have fun. I got to witness the master at work. Zach says he just got some stupid tube hooks ordered in the mail Friday. Haven't tossed a tube on them yet. A tube is my secret go-to flipping bait. I would choose a tube over everything. Yeah, they're not as many people flip a tube anymore. It was real popular. Guido Hibden kind of made it popular, And then Denny Brower, these are old school dudes. He kind of made it popular, but it kind of goes in cycles. People forget about it. I usually, I like flipping a tube. It's a good bait. It's just got that punch in the tube too is another thing that works really good. If they won't hit a regular crawl, sometimes you can put a tube on there, just a different look. Or when I'm fishing bushes, like if Kentucky Lake is up, say it's 360, 361, then the water's up in the bushes. Tube's a good look. Slides in and out of the cover pretty good. It's got that weird spiral. It kind of sucks because it gets your line all twisted up, but if it gets bites, it's worth it. But let me know, Zach, how you like those stupid tubes. I think you'll like them. They're pretty cool. They're kind of finessey feeling. They kind of give you a little bit of finessey feel. I saw Hella Bass on here, and he's a big fan of the stupid tube. They skip really well too, Zach, because everything is inside of that tube. The only thing that's out is the bend of the hook, so you don't have a bullet weight or anything to drag. They skip like a flat rock in a creek. Really good for getting back up underneath. You can skip them back in lay downs, obviously up underneath docks and stuff. Andy says he fished a private reservoir Saturday, caught 15 fish. 5 of the 15 were over 4 pounds, nothing under 1.5 pounds. Caught most of them on a 4-inch underspin swim bait in dirty shad color and a black and blue chatterbait. Nice, man. You need some company, let me know. Man, I wish I had a farm pond where I was catching all those 4-pounders. My little pond back here has a bunch of 12 inchers. It's always good for some fish, but I haven't caught a 4-pounder out of it in a long time. I used to catch fish. I don't know if I should say this or not, but I used to catch some fish in different lakes and transport them into this pond back here. And I think one year I had 37. 37 is a number that comes to mind. I had 37 fish between 4 and 6.5 pounds probably that I put in here. It was popping. It was banging. It was good. It was really good. But there were people in the neighborhood keeping those bass. I saw one guy, his mother lived in the neighborhood, and he would come over and I could watch him because I'm right on the lake. I could sit in my kitchen and kind of look out over the lake, and he'd be out in a little bitty John boat and with a cooler, and he's catching panfish, bluegill, crappie, keep those, who cares? But I saw him slipping like a 5-pound bass in that cooler. And then I went out and yelled at him one day. I said, "Hey dude, come on, man. We had a fish kill a couple years before that. I'm trying to get trying to get some big bass going in this lake. I'd appreciate if you throw those big fish back. I mean, if you want something for the table, if you want some meat, keep them 14 inchers, maybe 15 inchers, really 14 inchers, because I was trying to get things going in the lake, but don't keep a 5-pounder. That's just my opinion. I mean, everybody's got a different view on that, but you got a small lake that's like 5 acres, 4 acres, and you start taking like 4-pounders, 5-pounders out of there. It doesn't take too long to mess that fishery up, in my opinion. But now taking anything under 14 inches, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So long story short, I quit transporting fish because my whole goal was to have some really big fish in there. So the kids in the neighborhood, like my neighbor, he's got 3 girls. They're really young. There's nothing better than them coming down there, casting out with their little Barbie rod and hooking up with like a 4-pounder that's out there jumping and get squirrely and crazy. And I got 2 kids too, same deal. I kind of, in my mind, it would be cool just to transport some fish, have some really good quality bass in there, and people could catch them and have fun. But taking them out of there, I mean, I'd rather just leave them in the lake that I caught them at. So there you go. That's my opinion on that. Did you guys see? Did you guys hear anything about the Luke Duncan, Dave Mercer debacle? I was listening to Low Budget Live today. I don't know if we got any Low Budget Live fans on here, but I deliver mail, so I'm listening to podcasts all day long. It's kind of a good perk with the job. I'm out there on the street and I can listen to the podcast. So I'm, it's usually Bass Talk Live. I throw Luke Duncan in there. Anglers Happy Hour, which is really cool. Yeah, Hella Bass had my mind's drawing a blank. The host of Anglers Happy Hour, Justin, help me out here. Can't think of who it is. Anyway, he had him on as a guest Josh Bertrand as a guest the other night. And actually, they gave him a shout out today on English Happy Hour. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I'm usually listening to these podcasts, and I was listening to Luke Duncan today. And apparently, he was doing the LD and the MC deal with Dave Mercer, and they had a little spat. There's two sides to the story. I didn't hear Dave Mercer's side, but Luke was saying basically he had too many irons in the fire, and he had a little bit of a disagreement by the way things were going, and they kind of just split. So I thought that was interesting. That's the first that I'd heard of that. Luke Duncan's he's a stirrer, man. He likes to stir the pot. I can take him in small doses. He loves to talk. If I ever had him on a live stream, it'd probably go like 6 hours, but he's too busy. I've actually reached out to him, but some of those guys, they don't get back with you. They're too busy. This is a good question from Shelly. Of all the boats you have been in, which is your favorite? That's a great question. Being a co-angler in the BFL, one of the advantages is that you get to ride in all these different brands of boats. I get to see all the different electronics. I've seen the Humminbird, Garmin, Lowrance, and I've been in a ton of different boats. Last week, I fished at Kentucky Lake, and I was in a Bullet. Second time I've been in a Bullet. The first Bullet was an older one. I didn't like it at all. It was horrible. The one I was in recently was I think it was a 2019, and it was a lot better. It had a pretty good fishable platform. If you guys don't know about a Bullet, that's a boat that goes like plus 80. I mean, they get it. They're slow out of the hole, but once they get up on pad, they take off. Rangers, I fished in Rangers. I fished in Skeeters recently. Bass Cats. Bass Cats are nice. They just got this weird thing with the hinges on the back compartment lids. I don't know. I always feel like I'm going to stub my toe. As a co-angler, you're standing back there, and the hinge sticks up. It's a stainless hinge. Most hinges are on the inside, and I guess it's a more sturdy, more durable hinge. So aesthetically, it's kind of dangerous, but practically, maybe it makes more sense. But a Legend, been in a Legend. I've been in Vexus. My buddy Ron's got a Vexus, which is very nice. What else have I been in? I've been in the Charger. I've been in, man, I think that's all that's coming to mind right now. But I would say, honestly, the Phoenix. The Phoenix has been like the 921. I've ridden in a couple of those, a 721, I think it is. I've ridden in probably 6 or 7 of those Phoenixes, and they're nice. I would have to say that's definitely one of my top 3. I like that. Ron's Vexus is sweet. I mean, it's very, very nice. It's pimp. It's like plush, deluxe, top of the line, everything. It's got all the bells and whistles and gadgets. It just feels, it feels good. It's a nice boat. I haven't actually got to stand up on the deck and fish out of it, but it rides really good. It's put together solidly. You can, the differences you'll learn when you get in these boats is how they're manufactured. And some of them, there's definitely quality gaps, like a Nitro. Nitros are nice, but they're not as put together. They're not put together as well, in my opinion, as a Phoenix. They're just, and then a Vexus is obviously put together very well, and that's why they cost $100,000 or whatever. But there are some boats that are of slightly lesser quality. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not worth having and that they won't last you forever, but there's just little things that go wrong with some of these boats. Just little handles popping off and, windshield's getting loose. Some of the boats, you got to tighten everything down after every couple trips. But I would have to say, Shelly, this is a long answer to this question, but if I was going to go buy a boat tomorrow and I had the money, I'd be looking pretty seriously at a Phoenix. The Camuses are nice too. I got to sit in one of those. I didn't actually get to fish out of it, but they're kind of a Triton type platform. I think they got the Triton top shell on them, or it's Earl Bent's company, so he's coming from Triton. And Tritons are cool too. I fished out of several of those. I haven't fished out of a big aluminum like the Big Express or Crestline or something. I've seen them, but I haven't actually got to fish out of them. So I don't know. I mean, from everything I've heard, they fish really well and they handle big water just fine. But that's one thing I haven't drawn somebody in one of those boats yet. So anyway, oh, here's Phil. Geez, Phil, that's a deep question. Gabe, I want to know how fishing has changed your life. Man, that's the question I asked Mike McClellan last week. I think I asked Menendez that too. I was going to ask Watson that, but he'd probably say it changed my life and made me more tired. I don't know, man. Fishing, especially tournament fishing, or especially let's stick to tournament fishing. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you how to handle adverse situations. You know, you go up, you guys that are on here that fish tournaments, you get really excited. You know, you're a week out from a tournament. You start preparing for it mentally. Maybe you do some, you know, you look at the lake maps or something. If you got the Navionics app on your phone, you're sitting, you know, wherever taking a break, you're looking at it. Okay, that looks like a good spot. And then, you know, you kind of got a loose plan based on the time of the year, you know, what kind of pattern should be going on. And you're pumped up about it. It's a couple days before maybe you're going to go practice for a day or two. Say it's a Saturday tournament. Maybe you're going to be on the water on Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, you're kind of looking at everything, getting some ideals. And then you start getting your tackle ready. And then, you know, you drive to the lake and you go out and you practice. You know, things most of the time don't go exactly how you think they're going to go. You know, on the way to the lake seems small. When you get on the lake, it's really big. Sometimes you're wondering, where do I start? You know, you can really get spun out before you even stop at your first spot. So it teaches you to come back to your center, to try to keep it simple. And if things don't go as planned, it's okay. You gotta adjust mentally, and you've got to just think. Sometimes you got to think about what's really important. I'm just thinking, if I have a bad tournament, you know, sure, I learned how to deal with adversity, but you also have to think about what does it all mean? I mean, what is fishing? Fishing is kind of strange if you think about it. I mean, I guess a lot of sports are, but fishing is, if you take it to tournament fishing, if you take it as more than just a leisure event where you're out there just hanging out and you're on the water in nature, and you're just kind of being one with the universe, however you want to put it. If you take it to the tournament level, it's like you're out there, you're spending all this money and you're fishing for this thing that's swimming around in the water, and it doesn't even know you're fishing for them. It doesn't know you did all this map study. It doesn't know you watched all these YouTube videos. It doesn't know you bought these fishing licenses, you packed, and you got gas, and you're all ready to roll all this tackle and stuff. It's kind of strange. But when you're up in something and it's you and you're gung ho about it, it's life, you know. So fishing is life, but it's taught me an inner peace. It makes me, I really feel like I have to be out there at least once or twice a week, or, you know, it's hard for me to focus. It's kind of meditative to me. And, you know, with the YouTube channel thing, I don't know if I've said this on here before, but it makes me, it's kind of like you're fishing a tournament, you know, especially if you have an ideal of maybe what you want to do, what kind of video you want to put together. You go out there and you try to make it happen. It's not happening. You have to make adjustments. And so there's kind of a clock in the back of your head. You only got a few hours to go out there and do what you're going to do. So it teaches you discipline, teaches you to make adjustments on the fly. And I don't know, Phil, I'm kind of rambling, but fishing is just really important to me. And I probably can't quantify it all into one little paragraph, but just part of who I am. Started when I was a kid. My great grandpa used to take me fishing with a cane pole. We'd always fish farm ponds. We'd actually wade out, fish catfish, fish for catfish, panfish, whatever. So that's all I got to say about that. Zach says the troll car hooks are awesome hooks. Yes, they are. I've got some of those. What White Whale Fishing says, I hear that if you cut a slit in the back of the plastic, it would give you a better hookup ratio. Yeah, it can. Less plastic in the way, less plastic to ball up. Let's see. We got Stephanie on here. She says, I know everyone believes black and blue works most any time. I've ran black and blue on several different baits and have never caught anything. It may be a confidence thing for you. Yeah, you know, those are my two. I like a black and blue, so let's say a jig, black and blue jig or green pumpkin. No secret there, or plastics. Some days they want one better than the other. You know, typically in stained water, the black and blue is better, low visibility, say a cloudy day, or you got some rain or you got some wind. Black and blue can play. But I've caught a lot of fish on green pumpkin in stained water and cloudy conditions too. So I think it really has to, you really have to play around with both of them. Now, one thing I have noticed, if you have a lake that has a lot of those rock bass or goggle eye, if you ever look at a goggle eye, it's a darker fish. And I found in those lakes, the black and blue seems to excel over the green pumpkin. Another thing is a lot of your clearer grass lakes, you know, really clear lakes, like I mentioned Duck Creek earlier in Missouri, those fish in there are really dark. You know, most of your grass fish are a lot darker. I guess they get better light penetration because of the clear water. So the sun it's kind of like a suntan or something. I don't know. I mean, Sean Hurst would probably know that. That's just kind of my theory. But a lot of those fish are darker. The bait fish are darker. The goggle eye and the crappie are darker, and that's what the bass feed on. So a lot of time, and maybe your crawfish are too, but a lot of times the black and blue jig works really good in clear water. I mean, black and blue is a notoriously productive color down in Florida and all those clear water fisheries down there. June bug, black and blue. You know, that's basically, people say that's the only two colors you need down there, maybe watermelon. But something about that black and blue in clear water. But you got to throw them both. You got to try them both. And usually one will work better than the other, and you'll know. What's up, Georgia Bassmaster? Let's see here. Yeah, Hellabass. He's probably not on here anymore, but he did miss WW and Worldwide. I hope you caught some Hellabass. Yeah, Stephanie says she fishes for 8 to 12 hours every weekend and with Todd, her boyfriend, and she's exhausted every time. It wears you out. But you're ready to do it in the morning. I am. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, when's the next time I get to go fishing? Amateur Angler says, when is your next BFL? It is the 17th and 18th on Table Rock. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try to leave a couple days early and get down there. Mike's going to be down there. Mike is my boater link. So he's going to go down. I don't know if I'm going to go down Wednesday or wait till Thursday. He's going down a little bit early, but we're going to have a couple days of pre-fishing, and we will, we'll see what happens. Table Rock's, I haven't had a lot of good days on Table Rock. I mean, I've caught some good A-rig fish and stuff in the winter. I just haven't fished it a whole bunch, to be honest with you. But, like McClellan was saying last week, it should be on. It really should be on. This fish should be up, roaming around. At least they'll be, I don't think they're going to all be out there in that 30 to 40 foot water. I think you'll be able to catch some fish like 0 to 15, which sounds good to me. Yeah, Zach says Duck Creek is fun even when you're not catching fish. It is. It's a cool lake, man. It's I don't know. I always like to have a lake that's got some points or some rock changes, just some variety. Duck Creek's, it's really a microcosm thing. It comes down to like just the different kinds of vegetation where they bump up, just little subtle different pads. Sometimes they're in the dollar pads, sometimes they're in the full-size pads, sometimes they're on the horizontal wood that's laying down there that's fell over. Sometimes they're on the cypress trees. It's interesting. It's an interesting lake. Let me see who else we got on here. Okay, Gary. Gary says, Never fished Marin Lake before. Can you talk a little bit about what I'd be looking at as a co-angler? I fished Wren like twice in the last couple of years. I'd fished it more probably 15 years ago. Wren's really shallow. You got a lot of shallow cover. It's one of those lakes where you'll be 2 casts off the bank and your boat will be sitting in like 5 feet of water. So it gets real flat. So you're thinking, I know some of the key, most productive patterns on that lake are a lot of guys will fish the causeways, the bridges, the riprap that lines the bridges and the roads that go over the lake. That's key. You're going to see a lot of people doing that. You're going to see a lot of people flipping wood, spinnerbaits, square bills, just power fishing. It's kind of a power fishing lake. You know, a lot of guys will have just little key areas. You know, it's power fishing, but it's also, I'm not 100% sure that I'm sure it's patternable, but I know a lot of guys do good in just spots, just little small spots, and then maybe rotate through a couple spots and they'll hit them multiple times on the day. Now, on the north side of the lake is kind of treacherous. There's a lot of standing timber, a lot of stumps, not so much standing timber, like really high out of the water, but stumps that will just be right at the surface level. Excuse me. So, and I don't think there's any boat lane markers. The locals have an advantage. Anybody that's been running that lake for years and they've got a track on their GPS, they got a huge advantage. I've heard that there used to be some marker buoys and maybe posts, you know, hammered into stumps and stuff to mark a channel, but I don't think a lot of that's still out there. So that's, if I was going to go pre-fishing, unfortunately, you know, once you get up above the bridge that runs down the middle of the lake, you can go north a little bit, and there's a marina up there. It's not too far up. It's going to be on the east side of the lake. But once you get up there past that, it can get kind of sketchy. But as a co-angler, I thought about jumping in that one too. And I'm not sure, but man, black trickworm. A black trickworm is on a shaky head or an 1/8 ounce weight. I've heard some good co-angling stories with that. Square bill and, you know, just that kind of stuff. Just slow. And it's kind of one of those deals where, Gary, if you get like 1 or 2 bites, you're going to get a check. You know, if you catch, I've seen 1 fish get a check. So you're fishing for just a couple keepers just to get a check. I mean, you can very easily win with 3 fish. So bites are few and far between, but don't be like me. Get them in the boat. Let's see here. Jay says, I got help tonight. 16-month-old grandson who is into everything. Which trail you asking about? I think he was talking to somebody else. Okay, Zach has a question. He says, what's your go-to knot? And do you tie different knots for certain baits? Zach, I used to tie a long time ago. I tied the improved clinch knot. That's basically, I think they also call it the trilene knot. You know, it's basically 5-6 twists. You go through the loop in the bottom and then come back up the loop in the top. And that was an okay knot. And then I was fishing a state federation tournament on Truman Lake. And Gordon Brookman, he's since passed, but he showed me the Palomar knot. And I wasn't really having any problems with the improved clinch, but he showed me the Palomar knot. He said, this is a lot quicker. This is a lot better knot. So I tied that for a long time. And then probably the last 6 years, I've been tying the San Diego jam knot. And it's a super easy knot. Look it up. A lot of guys will tie the double San Diego jam knot. And it's just like it says, it's a jam knot. So it slides down the line and jams into the eye of the hook. Whereas a Palomar doubles back over itself and it kind of pinches down. And that's where some people have had problems breaking off with a Palomar knot and fluorocarbon. And really, I never did have a problem, you know, breaking a Palomar knot with fluorocarbon. You know, you just don't want to cross the line over itself with the Palomar. So you just got to take a little bit of time. But the San Diego jam knot, super easy. Got to have a little weight. You know, it's the one where you see the guys twisting it like that, and then boom, you can tie it in 10 seconds. And it's a great knot. You know, I can't say I've never broken it off, but it's a pretty good solid knot. If you're worried about breaking it off, you can double it up. Yeah, Morrison Son says white whale fishing. It's in Arkansas. I think he's talking about the White River. I've fished the White River several times. It's a good one for trout. Shadow Bassin, what's up, man? Some of these people probably aren't even on here anymore, and they saw James wasn't on here. You guys, appreciate you listening to me ramble. If you got any more questions, hit me up here. I'm still actually behind on these comments. Okay, Morris and Sons Baits says he always sets to the side on trout fishing. I try to set straight up on conventional unless it's a moving bait. Yeah, same here. Like I said earlier, I got a bad habit of that. Yeah, Dave. Dave says he saw the 926 in person at Lake of the Ozarks. It was a pig. In Watson's word, Mike and I sucked when it counted in that tournament. We caught 50 fish, just not the right ones when it counted. Man, that happened. That's like that down there in the fall too, Dave. You get a lot of those smaller fish, and it's hard to come across a keeper. Yeah, that 926, it's a freaking beast. Jeez, and there was a Fitzpatrick and Burhosh had like a 7 something. I think there were 7 bags over 20 pounds, something like that. It might have been more. So Lake of the Ozarks is doing just fine. Yeah, I hear you, Shadow Bassin. Fancy hat with no top to it, probably. Yeah, Jeremiah. He says you could kill a pond fast by taking out the broodfish. Yep, those are the major spawners. Bob said he put a 6.67 back at Lake of the Ozarks today. Thank you, Bob. That's a good one, man. That's a real good one. You need that one next week. Are you fishing that Big Bass Bash? That'll get you a good check there. It seems like you got to have at least a 4-pounder, but when you start getting up there at 6.5 pounds, you can definitely win your period. Shadow Besson says he stopped watching Low Budget Live, and it hurts to not go back and watch Mercer. Yeah, small doses for me. I mean, Luke's a great talker, and he's an industry guy. He knows a lot, but he just likes to stir stuff up. You know, I tell you what, Shadow Basson, the thing that kind of turned me off about Luke was when he called out Gerald Sporer. This was probably, I don't know, maybe like a year ago. I'm not 100% sure how long ago it was. But he called out Timmy Horton, Gerald Sporer. I don't really call him out. He's just talking smack about him or something. I don't even remember what it was about. But then he got him on the show, or maybe they were talking about him. I can't remember how it went down. But anyway, he got them on the show so they could defend themselves. And basically, Sporer made him look like an idiot. Made him eat his words. He was polite about it. And Luke never really apologized, in my opinion. He never took credit for what he had said. He never owned up. He never manned up. You know, me personally, if I say something, I don't say that kind of stuff anyway. But what I'm saying, if something would happen where I would have got a little bit carried away, maybe, you know, a little bit fired up about something and let my tongue slip, man, if I'm in the wrong, I'm going to tell you, you got to apologize, especially if it's that obvious. And I don't think Luke did. I think he just tried to, it was kind of sleight of hand, kind of like a politician thing where he's like, look at that rabbit over there. You know, I didn't do anything. I don't know. That took away some cool points from him. Bass RX says, any thoughts for new electronics? Looking for something more updated than the old ones I had. Thinking something in the Helix line, but wanted to hear other thoughts. Not trying to break the bank. Yeah, man, I'm still running like Gen 2. I got a Gen 2 Touch Lowrance 12 at the console or at the tiller handle. I don't have a console. And then up front, I got a Gen 3. Lowrance, but we were talking about being in these different boats as a co-angler, and the Lowrance Live is pretty sweet, but the Humminbird, the newer Humminbird, the Mega, I don't know, man. I probably had to buy that. You got the 360 that you can slap on there, and then they're going to have that forward-facing sonar sometime. And, you know, I like the Lake Master chip. It's just they're all pretty good, honestly. But I do think that the Lowrance Live is a lot better than the former models, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But Humminbird has always just been, it's just always looked good to me. You know, their side scan, it just always looks a little bit better to me. As far as budget, you know, I don't know how, you know, Lowrance has some really cheap entry level stuff, not cheap, but affordable entry level stuff. That's pretty decent. Like I think it's the TI2 is, I think, fairly reasonable price as far as electronics go. And they got the hook. I don't know. Heard mixed reviews about that. But yeah, the Helix, I don't know, man. I'd probably look towards Humminbird. You know, I thought about changing all my stuff out to Humminbird, and I may, if I do decide to upgrade my electronics. But then they started, you know, Lowrance started coming out with talking about the active targets. And now I'm like, well, I got everything ran for Lowrance. Do I want to redo it all? It's like, I don't know, it's so many thousands of dollars, whichever decision you make. But I think you'd be fine with Humminbird, in my opinion. Yeah, Tom says he used to help stock small lakes. It really upsets you seeing somebody take out the big fish. It does. It burns me because, you know, those, I know catfish, you don't even want the big fish. They don't taste as good. You know, your premium meat fish is like that 2 to 5 pound fish. And I would have to think bass are the same way, you know? So I don't know. It gets under my skin. I've seen some people at Lake Gerardo's, a small, like 160 acre lake. I've seen guys with like 5 pounders in their live well, not in their live well, they're in live well, but they were taking them home to eat. It just burns me. Gary says he was in a Camus at Lake of the Ozarks. Best boat I've ridden in. Lots of storage room. Big center console. Yeah, me and Mike were looking at, I think it was Brett Gervos. I might be saying that wrong, but he had a Camus there at Lake of the Ozarks, and I jumped in there and was looking at it. It's nice. It was definitely nice. I'm sure they do ride really well. David says the Lowrance Elite FS are nice units. And Shadow Bassin says co-anglers have a huge advantage when choosing their own boat. They've been in them all. Yeah, we've got to not actually test drive them, but we definitely got to test ride in them, see how they lay out. Phoenix lays out, especially the single console, lays out really good for a co-angler. I like the way it lays out. And honestly, that bullet that I was in, I would never get a bullet. They're way too narrow. You're definitely compromising fishability for speed, but it had a lot of room for the co-angler, which is really, really nice. The Vexus is laid out good for a co-angler. It's got some pretty cool functionality for a co-angler. That it actually has 2 rod tubes where you can run the rods into the rod locker in the co-angler side, and just your reel will be out, so they're completely out of the way. I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah, Stephanie says she likes the look of Phoenix. They're nice. And Vexus is sweet too. That's right, Gary. Yeah, Tom says he saw some of Mercer's podcast the other day and watched Luke's show this morning. Is that just how do you find that, Tom? The Mercer podcast? Is it just, what's it called? I've never watched it. Shadow Bassin says weight to horsepower ratio. Tim Hall says he's got, let's see what he says. He got the Garmin Echo Map UHD 73SV on at Bass Pro Shops for $449. They had them for $350 off. They had the 93 SP for $599. Yeah, I saw that they were discounting a lot of that Garmin stuff. It makes you wonder if what's Garmin coming out with next. So David says, check them out. The touchscreen, all new mapping, fully upgraded to live 7 and 9 inch. Definitely top of the line on size, but a really nice. Definitely not top of the line on size, but really nice unit. Yeah, set for me personally, 9 inches is a 9-inch craft's the smallest I would go. A 7 is just, I've had 7, I've had 5. You just can't see, especially if you do any kind of screen splits. 9 is okay if you have one split. 12 is a whole lot better. I've seen this. What is it? The 16. Ron's got a 16. The Lowrance, I think it's a 16, 15 or 16, whatever. But I think it's pretty sweet. You can split that 3 ways, and it's like, it seems like you have 3 7-inch crafts back there. Yeah, run him over. What's up, Johnny B? Nothing, man. We're just chatting, man. We had Worldwide on for a minute and had about 20 minutes, and he bailed. He was just tired. He needed some sleep. So I appreciate him at least coming on and showing his ugly mug. I'll try to get hooked up with him later on down the road. He's a busy guy, man. He's a busy guy. Bass Guy 1960 says, being a co-angler can throw a big curve into those plans. I'm catching up on these comments here. Yeah, so we're talking about back where I was talking about how's fishing changed my life. It can be stressful, but also fishing can be very calming and you forget about everyday life. That's right, Stephanie. That is very, very right. It's meditative. It's in the blood. And you just don't feel right if you don't get out there and do it. I get kind of grumpy. I don't know. And you're always trying to learn. I'm trying to learn. I'm on this mission to learn. The last couple of years since I've got this channel, I've learned a lot. I've really been paying attention. I see Hellabass on here. I mean, he's dialed in on like baits, like he's a kind of a, I don't want to say a bait junkie, maybe a bait junkie, but kind of geeked out on those old school crankbaits and frogs and all that stuff. And to be honest with you, I hadn't really paid attention to a lot of that stuff, a lot of the history of baits and a lot of the different nuances in certain baits. I find some things that work for me, and that's kind of what I stick to. I didn't spread out a whole bunch. Well, I had originally, but I'd come back to a center and I kind of stay around that center. But the last couple of years from knowing, Rich and just watching like the Bait Man and Epic Eric and these dudes that really know a lot about all the different kinds of hard baits and stuff. It's interesting. It's gotten me paying attention. I've ran into people, Ron's a big guy on watercolor, just little subtle changes in water clarity. So he's got me paying attention to that. I fished with guys that are, talking about rock transitions, things I knew about, but when you fish all day with one guy and they're keying on rock transitions, they're running a rock transition, you subconsciously, it just kind of absorbs into your soul and you're like, okay, I need to start looking for rock transitions. So you start paying the more I've learned. I guess what I'm saying is the last couple of years, I'm starting to really pay attention to the little subtle things, just little small details. Cause these really good fishermen, they really pay attention to that stuff. They're not just out there randomly casting it, just random things. They got a plan, and that's why they're so good. Hellabass says fish always bite better when the cameras are rolling. I don't know, man. Sometimes. I wish I would have had cameras for the last 10 years of my life. I've had some epic days, before I started doing this YouTube stuff. Jeez. That's right. Shadow bass and fishing is the source. And Sean says being on the water is an escape for me. Yeah, you know, that's something I need to do more. I haven't been, let's see, I haven't been out on the water. I think I told Ron this the other day. I haven't been out on the water without a camera in maybe one time in the last couple years. I mean, I've always got my Yellow Tech power stick up there, and not a chesty, but I always had that pole back there. And I just haven't really, other than like going to a pond back here or something, I just really haven't went out and just went fishing. You know, I'm always trying to learn something. It's always like full focus. I'm trying to absorb as much as I can and learn as much as I can. And because, you know, life is short. So I don't know. I'm not saying I need to go do that. Just go out and go fishing, not think about it. But it is relaxing when you let it relax you. Oh, Hellabass is still on there. I see that. I'm scrolling back up. I skipped down a bunch. Bass Fishing Full Z says, "Are you fishing Grand this week?" No, I'm not, man. I'm not. I wanted to, but I kind of decided. I fished the first Toyota Series tournament down there at Lake of the Ozarks, and the deal was me and Mike, my travel partner, we decided that if we cut a check, we would move on. If we didn't, we were done. And that's kind of how it went. So I just decided to just fish some more of these BFLs and stuff. And I'll fish some other stuff around here. We got some local tournaments. We got the USA Bass and Circuit. There's just some jackpot tournaments. I'll just be doing those. But, you know, I do want to do that. Maybe next year I will. Just fish all three tournaments in the Plains division or something. It's really doable. I just have to save up a little bit of money. We're building a house this year, and I don't know. You know, to me, I'd almost rather fish 5 BFLs or 6 BFLs versus 1 Toyota Series. I like the 2 days, the guaranteed 2 days. It's cool. You're never really out of it. You can really blow it on the first day and then catch a really big sack on the second day and come out looking good. I do like that. But I also like to fish instead of having, you know, as a coal angler, it's $550 in the Toyota Series. The boater's like $1,700, I believe. BFL is $100 as a coal angler, $200 as a boater. So I can fish, let's just say 5 BFLs, one at Table Rock, one at Lake of the Ozarks. I could even go to Gunnersville. You could jackpot a Pickwick, Chickamauga, Kentucky Lake. You can get 5 different lakes and learn a little bit about each one of those lakes, or you can put all that money into one tournament. So it's just a decision that each person has to make. And right now, as far as being able to go out and shoot video 5 different times at 5 different tournaments, it makes sense. And to fish with 5 different people, it's cool to, I don't know. I like them both, but I think next year I might do the Toyota Series, like all 3 of them, regardless whether I suck or not. Shadow Bassin says he concentrates primarily. His primary colors are black with blue, red, or yellow chartreuse. Oh, he concentrates on primary colors. Gotcha. Man, that black and purple is the deal too. I'm colorblind, so a lot of times I don't pick up on the black and blue versus black and purple. But as I go back and look at my favorite jigs, they're black and purple. Tim Hall says black with red flake, black blue with a beaver tail trailer is his go-to. Tom's talking about Helix 7s. Thanks, David. Appreciate that. I'm just grinding away, man. Making little baby steps, enjoying the ride, learning along the way. Yeah, Stephanie says there's a lot of stumps at Wren. There is. Okay, here's some information for you, Gary. You might already read this, but Tim Hall says he lives 8 minutes from Wren. Chartreuse crawl square bill along the riprap. I've definitely heard the riprap is the deal. George says a Cinco. Can't go wrong with the Cinco. Or the Max in general. I thought that was hilarious, that little April Fool's deal that MLF and Berkeley got together and did, where they said they were going to ban the Max in general, or just Max in. That was classic. Okay. Bascott 1960 says it can be awesome if you are in the right spot at the right time when the shatter spawning on the riprap. Let's see. Hellabass says double San Diego jam, not for this guy. Yeah, I tie. What do you tie, Rich? I tie the single one, man. I haven't had any problem. My buddy Jerry, he ties the double, but he's got this huge tagline. I guess he's got 2 taglines. It just seems like he wastes a lot of line. David, it's time to make a change. You need to try the San Diego jam knot. Honestly, if it's working, don't change it. If it's broke, do not fix it. What's up, Ron? I see you in here. He was fishing. I hope you were on another lake besides Egypt. Phil wants to know if my wife fishes with me. Sometimes she's been reminding me that I need to take her fishing. Maybe we'll do that next week. We went over to Murfreesboro last year and it was tough and it was hot. It was like 90 degrees, super humid, and she stayed out there with me. Finally it was time to shut it down and we went to a winery, but she stayed out there for a couple hours. She likes to read a book. She loves to hike. She loves to read, and she does like to fish, not nearly as much as I do. And I'm kind of guilty for maybe not encouraging her to go with me more. But she likes it in small doses for sure. She just likes being outside. Zach says he will try the San Diego jam knot. Been tying the double uni knot on the floral the last couple of months, but I'm not a knot guru. I like learning them all. Yeah, for my leader, the Alberto knot, I believe that's what it's called, is a great knot to try for your braid to floral leader connection. I mean, obviously the FG knot is probably the best, but I've tried that, man. I mean, I've got it. I can get it like once out of every 10 times. And it's just, for me, it's not worth the time. And I've had good luck with the Alberto knot. I hope that's the right name for that. I did a couple videos on it. It's a good knot. It's strong. I mean, it's not a knot that I would use for punching, where I'm really got a really shock high impact hook set. You can break it off, but for most anything else, even a football jig where you got a lot of line out, you're pulling. It's not good at close corners or close quarters. I use it on spinning rod all the time. I know Ron, he's a guide up at Mille Lacs, and he's catching those 4 and 5 pound smallies. That's what he uses. He doesn't have any problem with it at all. Yeah, that's right, Shadow Bassin. That sun's staying up really, really long. Might have to start doing like a 9 o'clock stream. I don't think I could do it though. I don't know. We might cut them back to every 2 weeks or something, as fishing season really gets going. Okay, Tim is talking about there's a video on YouTube. Can't remember what it's called. Search Bass Tournaments Run Lake. It's a video from the early 70s. It's amazing seeing the standing timber on the north end. Yeah, and I've heard, we were talking about Duck Creek earlier. I've heard that back in the 70s, it was just like a forest out there. There's not near the trees. I'd say there's probably 20% of the trees are still left. But at one time, it was just a jungle out there. Gabe, do you go through the loop at the hook eye, then back up to the loop at the top? Yeah, that's the the improved clinch knot, I believe, is what you're talking about, or the trilene knot. But yeah, I'd go through both loops there on that knot. Yeah, Joe, I saw that. It says, did you hear about the 4.23 pound crappie that came out of Kincaid last week? I saw a picture of that. You know, there was that other one that was circulating for a while. The one from, I believe, 2017. The guy caught that, I don't know, it was like a 4.5 pounder. I believe it was the record. But that comes up every year like it was just caught. And then I saw this one, and I'm like, is that old too? I hadn't seen that one before, but that's a massive crappie. I mean, that's a good size, quality bass, 4.5 pound bass, let alone a crappie. I know that one record, I think, was caught on a chatterbait, that 458 or whatever it was. That's cool, Tim. He says his dad delivered fuel to help build Ren. He's 49, and he had me up there when I was 6 years old. A lot of old house foundations, a lot of old road beds, old bridges are still underwater. Yeah, I fished Cedar Lake a lot, and Bobby Jackson, who has told me some stories about when they were building Cedar Lake, and you look at a point that's a flat point, long flat point, and he was telling me that was a place where they had built it up for the heavy machinery to basically, as the lake was filling up, they had this area built up for the heavy machinery so they wouldn't get flooded. And it's pretty cool. There's a lot of neat stories. If you run into some people that actually know when the lake was being built, you can go around, they can show you where the road beds are at. And, usually when they show you it, you can kind of see how they laid out. It's pretty cool. It's funny. Let me see. We got a personal question. How does your wife feel about you fishing so much? She's got to be a good woman. You have a lot going on. Just tell me if it's too personal a question. No, it's not too personal a question. Not at all, Stephanie. She understands. I try to make sure I got plenty of time for everybody. I do most of my editing for these videos and stuff late at night after everybody's gone to bed. And, it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. I do a lot of tournaments March through May. And so it gets a little bit chaotic. But through the winter, I'm not really going anywhere. I'm staying overnight. So I'm always back home. And, I kind of have to balance it inside myself and make sure everything is all good. But for the most part, it works out pretty good. We got it all kind of figured out. Okay, let me get down to these questions. David says I'm way behind. Looks like we probably got to wrap this up here soon. Yeah, Bass RX. Like to know what you get. Trying to catch up on these comments here. Ron says Garmin has good sales now. Yeah, we talked about that. Yes, he does have a 16-inch Lowrance live. Anybody fishing the Big Bass Bash? I won't be down there. I got that Table Rock tournament. Okay, Shadow Bassin says you can find Dave Mercer on Apple Podcast. What's up, TJ81? Shadow Bassin says Epic Eric, Junebug. I'm just by myself, yeah. That was my daughter. No, he jumped on here for a minute, but he had to go. TJ, man, yeah. You've been catching some big fish, man. I've seen your post. You've been getting a hold of some nice ones. It's good to see you out, man. It's good to see you out on the water. Okay, Tom says that it used to pop up on my YouTube as LD and the MC. Last one was BP and the MC. Plus, I think he has one coming up with KVD and the MC. But that will probably change. Okay. Yeah, I want to hear the one. I don't even know if I want to hear it. I was going to say I want to hear the one where he talks about Mr. Duncan, see what he has to say. But at the same time, who really cares? There's enough drama in the world. Yeah, Tim says Fish the Moment channel is real good on YouTube. Yeah, Johnny Schultz and Mr. AKA, I don't use LiveScope, but I spent $20,000 on LiveScope. Randy Blockett is on there too, which I like Blockett. He's a good dude. But yeah, that's a good show, man. They have a lot of good, map study, and they teach a lot of good stuff. But you got to remember, it's still about getting out there, and a lot of that stuff is just people's opinions. So you got to go out and make your own opinion on stuff. Can't take all that as the honest to God truth. Everybody has their spin on things. Not really a spin, but they have their take on things. And you can't just take what somebody says as the golden truth. You got to sample a lot of these different channels and stuff. And I don't know why I said that, but I know, like Tactical Bassin, they've got a ton of good content, but there's also different ways and different baits to fish in those same scenarios. And you got to sample. That's what's cool about YouTube, is you got all these different channels you can go out and sample. But yeah, Fish the Moment's good stuff. It's up, Phil. Dude, Phil, we need to go fishing soon. I hope you got your graphs all lined out. Phil bought a used boat not too long ago, and he's been having some issues with it. Having all kinds of issues with it. Yeah, you're right, TJ. I do need to leave the cameras on once in a while. Man, that'll be that day when I catch like a 25-pound bag, or catch like a 8-pounder. Okay, here's Dave's take on Wren Lake. Put a topwater in your hand and don't put it down. Had 15 pounds one day out of a pontoon. 13 pounds won the tournament. It's kind of like your chatterbait over there at Marion Reservoir. He kept that chatterbait in his hand and he caught some fish. So I'm sad to see that lake is closed. Or, yeah, close to the public. Tim says also on Rend along Interstate 57 and Route 37, where they cross Rend, there are 2 culverts that run under the road, and they always produce. Philip says he can't say he's ever broken the Alberto. And Ron says, yep, solid knot. Yeah, that's the one I've been using for quite a while. I think I did a video. I actually called it the J Blatel loop knot because my travel partner, Jonathan Blattle, he's the one that taught it to me. And Daniel Fennell, I guess I don't know if he was a tournament director there for a while, but he's moved up the ranks. But he used to always call my buddy Jonathan Blattle, he'd call him Blatel. And Jonathan taught me the Alberto knot. So I was calling it the J Blatel loop knot, just kind of as a joke, but that's not the official name. And I had some people call me out on that. People get kind of offended on that little stuff. They're real spicy about the names of their knots. Let's see here. God, I have way more questions than I thought. I'm trying to wrap this up so we can jump off of here. But like I said, I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Oh, there we go. TJ had a 26-pound bag. My man. That's a big one. That's a nice sack. You got a nice sack, sir. Private ponds actually count? I don't know. I mean, they count. It's fish. Some private ponds are tough. Yeah, Bass Guy 1960. Blockett doesn't think highly of co-anglers. I don't know. I reached out to him, guys, to try to get him on the channel. And I reached out to him like 3 times, 4 times, and he never got back with me. which me and Rich have talked about this before. You know, me personally, I understand. And I don't know how many, I mean, maybe these guys get thousands of messages on their Instagram account. I don't know. I mean, maybe they just don't even look at them. I don't know. But personally, a yes or a no would have been nice to at least get a response. I mean, hey, I'm busy. I'd like to, but I can't. Okay, cool. I'll leave you alone. I won't even bother you anymore. I understand. But me personally, when you send a message to somebody 3 times, I'm pretty sure they got it one of the times. And to not even have the courtesy to at least say, I'm too busy. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Oh, Tackle Junkie says, I'll get out when I'm ready. I'm catching fish and don't care which boat I'm in. See your comments. You obviously do. Got a little bit of bickering going on there. Huh. Hey, what's up, Doug? He says he missed the guest, but rest was good. Tried to get you a new fishing report. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, while we're on that subject, me and Ron DeRosa are doing a little fishing reports live stream on Thursday nights, 6 or 7:30. We're just trying to create a little community of fishing reports. And TJ, I think your stream is on Thursday nights. And man, I apologize if it is. I didn't even think about that until a couple of weeks ago when we started doing this, because I definitely don't like to step on anybody's stream at all, because it's just not cool. But go check Tackle Junkie stream out too. Maybe you can bounce back and forth. But we're doing a little fishing report stream, and we had a couple guests on last week. It was kind of cool. We had Eric Prey from Table Rock Lake, and we had Matt from 3 Pound Fishing. We had Mike Russell from Kentucky Lake, Bag 5 Baits. They all jumped on and kind of gave the lake reports and stuff. And I think this Thursday we're going to have Jack Uxa. I always get his name messed up, but he's a stick down there. He's a guide on Lake of the Ozarks, and I think he's going to be able to jump on. He's got a guide trip till like 7 o'clock or 7:30. I said, well, maybe you can jump on like 8:30 or something, but I'll shoot a message again to him. I spoke with him last week, but we're trying to get just like one guest, just to jump on for like 10 minutes or something and give us an update. And then me and Ron will just be going over the lakes that we fished throughout the week. And if you guys have been out on the water and you want to send me your fishing reports, I encourage you to. That'd be great. You can send them to Gabe Montgomery Fishing or 10 Horse Monty on Facebook, or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram, or just Gabe Montgomery on Facebook. I need to make up a form somehow that you could fill out that's like uniform, because I kind of, ideally it would be just water clarity, water temperature, kind of, what baits you were fishing. You don't have to tell me exact one, but moving baits, or was it a slow, pitching methodical stuff? And what were you keen on? Like, what was the cover? Was it a rocktail? Were they shallow? Were they deep? Just, it doesn't have to be like a full paragraph, but just some little details like that. But yeah, you could send those to me if you want, because we're trying to get a bunch of different reports in there. And me and Ron can only fish a few lakes a week. But we'd like to be able to cover, a little bit of everything. So Doug, your report would be greatly appreciated, and anybody out there that wants to send that stuff in to me. See, we got a couple more comments on here. There we go. Dave showing TJ some love. Rich said he didn't record tonight. He was snapping some crappie grubs. Nice. Snapping. Somebody was talking about that the other day. We couldn't figure out what the name of, when you're fishing an open hook tube up there on the Great Lakes. It's called snapping. I couldn't remember what it was, but I think that's what they call it. Jay Beffa says, speaking of co-anglers, I'm actually shocked that the NPFL didn't add co-anglers with the elimination of co-anglers in bass and FLW. I thought that was a successful program and kept more interest in the sport. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know a lot of those guys and, the elites, they don't like having somebody in the boat that could catch their fish. And they're always having to defend their territory, because there's a lot of situations where you really can't. I mean, you certainly can if you're maybe dock fishing, or if you're fishing a ledge, or you're fishing a brush pile on a point. But you get in some of those grass lakes and you can't really defend from the co-angler. So I think that's probably the biggest complaint. I know as a co-angler, I need to do a video, and I was thinking about this, a video on just kind of co-angler etiquette or things to do in a boat, with as a co-angler, things not to do and things that ways to act in a boat, things to look for in a boat, something like that. But I was thinking, with a boater, it can be a problem if the co-angler is slow getting his stuff ready to move to the next spot. I know a lot of boaters they move fast. They fish right to the last cast, and then they want to strap their rods down, put their vest on, fire the boat up, take off. And you got somebody that's trying to get their stuff together that can slow them down. So maybe I'll do a video and just talk about some of the things that I've learned as a co-angler over the last 5 or 6 years. Aaron said hi and bye. Thanks, TJ. Appreciate that, man. Larry says, where are you at? I'm on Bull Shows. I'm in Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri area. A lot of the guys that are on here are from Southern Illinois, and there's some more Missouri folks in here. What's up, Fab? I haven't seen you in a while, dude. Hope you're doing good. It's good to see you, man. Yeah, Jim the Tub Slayer. Okay, Ron says snapping is a great way to trigger inactive smallies. I can't remember who I was talking to, Ron, the other day. I knew the technique, or I knew what it was about, but I couldn't think of the name of it. I know when we had Mike McClellan, he was talking about scrubbing, which is basically just slow rolling a swim bait along the bottom. It's been going on out there at Table Rock. And when he was saying scrubbing, I was thinking, what do they call that when they fish the jig on the bottom of the open hook and they pop it and snapping? I know. Okay. What's up from Wisconsin? Good to see you on here. I think I'm caught up with all these questions and comments. Yeah, so we're going to sign out. I really appreciate you guys staying on. Like I mentioned earlier, if you didn't hear me, we had James Watson was on for like 20 minutes, and he had been fishing all day down at Grand, pre-fishing for the Toyota series, I believe in the Plains division. And he was wore out, got on, and he was laying on his boat, and he was tired, man. He's got a lot of obligations, and I'm just a little fish in a pond out here, and I'm definitely not a priority. So I do appreciate him taking a little bit of time. And like I said earlier, I'll try to get in touch with him later on down the road, and maybe we can come on and we can break down the things that I wanted to talk to him about. I really wanted to get into topwater fishing. I had all kinds of stuff I wanted to get into, and then the spoon fishing, and we just summarized it. We very, very barely touched on it. That's it, man. I appreciate you guys coming on here, and we'll shut this sucker down. And I guess we'll be back on here. We're going to do the fishing reports Thursday with Ron. So check that out. I got some videos coming out. Got a Kentucky Lake BFL coming out Wednesday, and I got something else coming out Friday. I'm still working on that, but it's all I got for you. Like I said, appreciate you guys, and